The following podcast has been scheduled for one fall with a 5-minute time limit. The date is March 22nd, 2004, the night of the Draft Lottery, the night where general managers Paul Heyman and Eric Bischoff pull names out of tumblers to reshuffle the rosters for the coming year. The previous week, Vince McMahon brought up the tagline for WrestleMania 20, where it all begins again, and upset with the complacency and favoritism running roughshod on the WWE roster at the time, decided that it was time to shake things up. 13 years before the official WWE Superstar shakeup, this draft would usher in a new Raw. This draft would usher in a new SmackDown. God damn it, it would usher in a new WWE. If he had said new era, I would have lost my shit, but my shit remained precisely where it was following his announcement. Speaking of shit, the draft picks chosen on television were less than stellar. Mark Jindrak, Spike Dudley, Rene Dupree, Tajiri, Jamie Noble's girlfriend Nydia, and Rhino, who earned a World Heavyweight title match by virtue of being drafted, were all seen on television that night with the spotlight on them. I wonder how Vince McMahon would feel about his new WWE that this was ushering if he were to know that all of these names would be gone by 2006. More notable draft picks were Rob Van Dam, who lost his and Booker T's tag team titles to Evolution and their awful tag team mashup theme to the ether. Shelton Benjamin, who lost his tag team partner and awesome theme song to the draft. And Triple H, who lost his marbles and his water when he found out that he was SmackDown bound. This wouldn't last, as general manager Eric Bischoff, before the midnight deadline set by Vince McMahon himself, would instigate a trade to get Triple H back on Raw, granting the Blue Show the Dudley Boys and Booker T in exchange. Non-wrestlers Theodore R. Long and Paul Heyman would also be drafted. Heyman would quit before he could do anything on Raw, and Theodore R. Long would enjoy a short heel run where he managed Mark Jindrak and feuded with Spike Dudley before taking up the role he would hold for many, many years to come as general manager of SmackDown. Holla, 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 holla. Finally, one man would make his return on this night, being drafted to Raw from SmackDown. A man who had been out of action for over a year following a neck injury and necessary surgery. This man would make a raucous impact on his return by spearing the guts out of Eric Bischoff as his theme song by Rob Zombie blasted over the Joe Louis Arena. This was Edge, a man who would all but take over the WWE main event scene for years and years to come. And you know, a man hitting the ring and hitting his finisher while his music continuously plays means that you are a big deal. As a youngster watching, this was my first exposure to Edge, and I wasn't sure if I liked him or not. As far as I knew, he had long blonde hair like Chris Jericho and used a weird tackle attack that JR called the Spear. Unable to really discern the difference between a Goldberg spear and an Edge spear at the time, I made the assumption that this Edge fellow was a strong wrestler because he had the spear. In the 80 seconds that he was on screen, there wasn't really anything else that left a mark on me. He was just a guy with a strange name with a cool move. This mark would be all but erased in the following match, which would see Eddie Guerrero face Triple H in a WWE title match that would end in a massive SmackDown vs. Raw brawl to close the show. Edge was not involved in the brawl. World Heavyweight Champion Chris Benoit was involved. Stone Cold Steve Austin was involved. Edge nowhere to be found, not delivering a single spear to any of the fodder littering the ringside area. I was lucky enough to witness Edge's main event rise on a weekly basis. And this episode of Monday Night Raw set in motion my relationship with a wrestler that would stick around during the entirety of my childhood and would play the villain to some of my favorite wrestlers to come. If only I had known how big this moment would be over 16 years later. Tune in next time when we tackle the next phase on Edge's main event run, his first feud coming back, leading to his first pay-per-view in over a year. Tune in next time for 5 more minutes. 5 more minutes.